Chapters 17 through 22 of the First Book of Kings, from the World English Bible. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Shirley Ellen. The First Book of Kings, from the World English Bible, chapters 17 through 22. Chapter 17. Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the foreigners of Gilead, said to Ahab, "As Yahweh the God of Israel lives, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word." The word of Yahweh came to him, saying, "Go away from here, turn eastward, and hide yourself by the brook Kerith that is before the Jordan. It shall be that you shall drink of the brook. I have commanded the ravens to feed you there." So he went and did according to the word of Yahweh, for he went and lived by the brook Kerith that is before the Jordan. The ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening, and he drank of the brook. It happened after a while that the brook dried up, because there was no rain in the land. The word of Yahweh came to him, saying, "Arise, go to Zarephath, which belongs to Sidon, and stay there. Behold, I have commanded a widow there to sustain you." So he arose and went to Zarephath, and when he came to the gate of the city, behold, a widow was there gathering sticks, and he called to her and said, "Please get me a little water in a vessel that I may drink." As she was going to get it, he called to her and said, "Please bring me a morsel of bread in your hand." She said, "As Yahweh your God lives, I don't have a cake, but a handful of meal in the jar, and a little oil in the jar. Behold, I am gathering 2 sticks, that I may go in and bake it for me and my son, that we may eat it and die." Elijah said to her, "Don't be afraid. Go and do as you have said, but make me of it a little cake first, and bring it out to me, and afterward make some for you and for your son. For thus says Yahweh, the God of Israel, the jar of meal shall not empty, neither shall the jar of oil fail, until the day that Yahweh sends rain on the earth." She went and did according to the saying of Elijah, and she and he and her house ate many days. The jar of meal didn't empty, neither did the jar of oil fail, according to the word of Yahweh which he spoke by Elijah. It happened after these things that the son of the woman, the mistress of the house, fell sick, and his sickness was so severe that there was no breath left in him. She said to Elijah, "What have I to do with you, you man of God? You have come to me to bring my sin to memory and to kill my son." He said to her, "Give me your son." He took him out of her bosom and carried him up into the room where he stayed, and laid him on his own bed. He cried to Yahweh and said, "Yahweh my God, have you also brought evil on the widow with whom I stay, by killing her son?" He stretched himself on the child 3 times, and cried to Yahweh, and said, "Yahweh my God, please let this child's soul come into him again." Yahweh listened to the voice of Elijah, and the soul of the child came into him again, and he revived. Elijah took the child and brought him down out of the room into the house, and delivered him to his mother. And Elijah said, "Behold, your son lives." The woman said to Elijah, "Now I know that you are a man of God, and that the word of Yahweh in your mouth is truth." Chapter 18. It happened after many days that the word of Yahweh came to Elijah in the 3rd year, saying, "Go, show yourself to Ahab, and I will send rain on the earth." Elijah went to show himself to Ahab. The famine was severe in Samaria. Ahab called Obadiah, who was over the household. Now Obadiah feared Yahweh greatly, for it was so, when Jezebel cut off the prophets of Yahweh, that Obadiah took 100 prophets and hid them by 50 in a cave, and fed them with bread and water. Ahab said to Obadiah, "Go through the land, to all the springs of water, and to all the brooks. Perhaps we may find grass, and save the horses and mules alive, that we not lose all the animals." So they divided the land between them to pass throughout it. Ahab went one way by himself, and Obadiah went another way by himself. As Obadiah was in the way, behold, Elijah met him, and he recognized him, and fell on his face, and said, "Is it you, my lord Elijah?" He answered him, "It is I. Go tell your lord, behold, Elijah is here." He said, "Wherein have I sinned, that you would deliver your servant into the hand of Ahab to kill me? As Yahweh your God lives, there is no nation or kingdom where my lord has not sent to seek you." When they said, "He is not here," he took an oath of the kingdom and nation that they didn't find you. Now you say, "Go tell your lord, behold, Elijah is here." It will happen, as soon as I am gone from you, that the Spirit of Yahweh will carry you I don't know where, and so when I come and tell Ahab, and he can't find you, he will kill me. But I, your servant, have feared Yahweh from my youth. Wasn't it told my lord what I did when Jezebel killed the prophets of Yahweh? How I hid 100 men of Yahweh's prophets with 50 to a cave, and fed them with bread and water? Now you say, "Go tell your lord, behold, Elijah is here," and he will kill me. Elijah said, "As Yahweh of armies lives, before whom I stand, I will surely show myself to him today." So Obadiah went to meet Ahab, and told him, and Ahab went to meet Elijah. It happened, when Ahab saw Elijah, that Ahab said to him, "Is that you, you troubler of Israel?" He answered, "I have not troubled Israel, but you and your father's house, in that you have forsaken the commandments of Yahweh, and you have followed the Baals. Now therefore send and gather to me all Israel to Mount Carmel, and 450 of the prophets of Baal, and 400 of the prophets of Asherah, who eat at Jezebel's table." So Ahab sent to all the children of Israel, and gathered the prophets together to Mount Carmel. Elijah came near to all the people, and said, "How long will you waver between the two sides? If Yahweh is God, follow him, but if Baal, then follow him." The people answered him not a word. Then Elijah said to the people, "I, even I only, am left a prophet of Yahweh, but Baal's prophets are 450 men. Let them therefore give us 2 bulls, and let them choose 1 bull for themselves, and cut it in pieces, and lay it on the wood, and put no fire under it. And I will dress the other bull, and lay it on the wood, and put no fire under it. You call on the name of your God, and I will call on the name of Yahweh. The God who answers by fire, let him be God." All the people answered, "It is well said." Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, "Choose 1 bull for yourselves, and dress it first, for you are many, and call on the name of your God, but put no fire under it." They took the bull which was given them, and they dressed it, and called on the name of Baal from morning even until noon, saying, "Baal, hear us." But there was no voice, nor any who answered. They leaped about the altar which was made. It happened at noon that Elijah mocked them, and said, "Cry aloud, for he is a god. Either he is musing, or he has gone aside, or he is on a journey, or perhaps he sleeps and must be awakened." They cried aloud, and cut themselves in their way with knives and lances, until the blood gushed out on them. It was so, when midday was past, that they prophesied until the time of the offering, but there was neither voice, nor any to answer, nor any who regarded. Elijah said to all the people, "Come near me." And all the people came near to him. He repaired the altar of Yahweh that was thrown down. Elijah took 12 stones, according to the number of tribes of the sons of Jacob, to whom the word of Yahweh came, saying, "Israel shall be your name." With the stones he built an altar in the name of Yahweh. He made a trench around the altar large enough to contain 2 measures of seed. He put the wood in order, and cut the bull in pieces, and laid it on the wood. He said, "Fill 4 jars with water, and pour it on the burnt offering and on the wood." He said, "Do it a second time." And they did it the second time. He said, "Do it a third time." And they did it a third time. The water ran around the altar, and he also filled the trench with water. It happened at the time of the offering, that Elijah the prophet came near, and said, "Yahweh, the God of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Israel, Let it be known this day that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant, and that I have done all these things at your word. Hear me, Yahweh, hear me, that this people may know that you, Yahweh, are God, and that you have turned their heart back again." Then the fire of Yahweh fell, and consumed the burnt offering, and the wood, and the stones, and the dust, and licked up the water that was in the trench. When all the people saw it, they fell on their faces. They said, "Yahweh, he is God. Yahweh, he is God." Elijah said to them, "Seize the prophets of Baal. Don't let one of them escape." They seized them. Elijah brought them down to the brook Kishon, and killed them there. Elijah said to Ahab, "Get up, eat and drink, for there is the sound of abundance of rain." So Ahab went up to eat and to drink. Elijah went up to the top of Carmel, and he bowed himself down on the earth, and put his face between his knees. He said to his servant, "Go up now, look toward the sea." He went up, and looked, and said, "There is nothing." He said, "Go again," 7 times. It happened at the 7th time that he said, "Behold, a small cloud, like a man's hand, is rising out of the sea." He said, "Go up, tell Ahab, get ready and go down, so that the rain doesn't stop you." It happened in a little while that the sky grew black with clouds and wind, and there was a great rain. Ahab rode and went to Jezreel. The hand of Yahweh was on Elijah, and he tucked his cloak into his belt, and ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. Chapter 19. Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah, saying, "So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I don't make your life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time." When he saw that, he arose and went for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a juniper tree. And he requested for himself that he might die, and said, "It is enough. Now, O Yahweh, take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers." He lay down and slept under a juniper tree, and behold, an angel touched him, and said to him, "Arise and eat." He looked, and behold, there was at his head a cake baked on the coals, and a jar of water. He ate and drank, and lay down again. The angel of Yahweh came again the 2nd time, and touched him, and said, "Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you." He arose and ate and drank, and went in the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mount of God. He came there to a cave, and lodged there. And behold, the word of Yahweh came to him, and he said to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He said, "I have been very jealous for Yahweh, the God of armies, for the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and slain your prophets with the sword. I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away." He said, "Go out and stand on the mountain before Yahweh." Behold, Yahweh passed by. A great and strong wind tore the mountains, and broke in pieces the rocks before Yahweh. But Yahweh was not in the wind. After the wind, an earthquake. But Yahweh was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake, a fire passed. But Yahweh was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice. It was so, when Elijah heard it, that he wrapped his face in his mantle, and went out, and stood in the entrance of the cave. Behold, a voice came to him, and said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He said, "I have been very jealous for Yahweh, the God of armies, for the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and slain your prophets with the sword. I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away." Yahweh said to him, "Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. When you arrive, you shall anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. You shall anoint Jehu, the son of Nimshi, to be king over Israel. And you shall anoint Elisha, the son of Shaphat of Abel Meholah, to be prophet in your place. it shall happen, that he who escapes from the sword of Hazael, Jehu will kill, and he who escapes from the sword of Jehu, Elisha will kill. Yet will I leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth which has not kissed him." So he departed there, and found Elisha the son of Shaphat, who was plowing, with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he with the 12th. And Elijah passed over to him, and cast his mantle on him. He left the oxen, and ran after Elijah, and said, "Let me please kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow you." He said to him, "Go back again, for what have I done to you?" He returned from following him, and took the yoke of oxen, and killed them, and boiled their flesh with the instruments of the oxen, and gave to the people, and they ate. Then he arose, and went after Elijah, and served him. Chapter 20. Ben-Hadad the king of Syria gathered all his army together, and there were 32 kings with him, and horses and chariots. And he went up and besieged Samaria, and fought against it. He sent messengers to Ahab king of Israel into the city, and said to him, "Thus says Ben-Hadad, your silver and your gold is mine, your wives also, and your children, even the best are mine." The king of Israel answered, "It is according to your saying, my lord, O king. I am yours, and all that I have." The messengers came again, and said, "Ben-Hadad says, I sent indeed to you, saying, You shall deliver me your silver and your gold, and your wives and your children. But I will send my servants to you tomorrow about this time, and they shall search your house and the houses of your servants, and it shall be, that whatever is pleasant in your eyes, they shall put in their hand, and take it away." Then the king of Israel called all the elders of the land, and said, "Please notice how this man seeks mischief, for he sent to me for my wives, and for my children, and for my silver, and for my gold, and I didn't deny him." All the elders and all the people said to him, "Don't listen, neither consent." Therefore he said to the messengers of Ben-Hadad, "Tell my lord the king, all that you sent for to your servant at the first I will do, but this thing I cannot do." The messengers departed, and brought him back the message Ben-Hadad sent to him, and said, "The gods do so to me, and more also, if the dust of Samaria shall suffice for handfuls for all the people who follow me." The king of Israel answered, "Tell him, don't let him who puts on his armor brag like he who takes it off." It happened, when Ben-Hadad heard this message as he was drinking, he and the kings in the pavilions, that he said to his servants, "Prepare to attack." They prepared to attack the city. Behold, a prophet came near to Ahab king of Israel, and said, "Thus says Yahweh, have you seen all this great multitude? Behold, I will deliver it into your hand this day, and you shall know that I am Yahweh." Ahab said, "By whom?" He said, "Thus says Yahweh, by the young men of the princes of the provinces." Then he said, "Who shall begin the battle?" He answered, "You." Then he mustered the young men of the princes of the provinces, and they were 232. After them he mustered all the people, even all the children of Israel, being 7,000. They went out at noon. But Ben-Hadad was drinking himself drunk in the pavilions, he and the kings, the 32 kings who helped him. The young men of the princes of the provinces went out first, and Ben-Hadad sent out and told them, saying, "Men are coming out from Samaria." He said, "If they have come out for peace, take them alive, or if they have come out for war, take them alive." So these went out of the city, the young men of the princes of the provinces, and the army which followed them. They each killed his man. The Syrians fled, and Israel pursued them. Ben-Hadad the king of Israel escaped on a horse with horsemen. The king of Israel went out, and struck the horses and chariots, and killed the Syrians with a great slaughter. The prophet came near to the king of Israel, and said to him, "Go, strengthen yourself, and mark, and see what you do, for at the return of the year the king of Syria will come up against you." The servants of the king of Syria said to him, "Their God is a God of the hills, therefore they were stronger than we. But let us fight against them in the plain, and surely we shall be stronger than they. Do this thing, take the kings away, every man out of his place, and put captains in their place. Muster an army, like the army that you have lost, horse for horse, and chariot for chariot. We will fight against them in the plain, and surely we will be stronger than them." He listened to their voice, and did so. It happened at the return of the year that Ben-Hadad mustered the Syrians, and went up to Aphek to fight against Israel. The children of Israel were mustered, and were provisioned, and went against them. The children of Israel encamped before them like two little flocks of young goats. But the Syrians filled the country. A man of God came near and spoke to the king of Israel, and said, "Thus says Yahweh, because the Syrians have said, 'Yahweh is a God of the hills, but he is not a God of the valleys,' therefore I will deliver all this great multitude into your hand, and you shall know that I am Yahweh." They encamped, one over against the other, 7 days. So it was, that in the 7th day the battle was joined, and the children of Israel killed 100,000 footmen of the Syrians in one day. But the rest fled to Aphek, into the city, and the wall fell on 27,000 men who were left. Ben-Hadad fled, and came into the city, into an inner room. His servants said to him, "See now, we have heard that the kings of the house of Israel are merciful kings. Please let us put sackcloth on our bodies, and ropes on our heads, and go out to the king of Israel. Maybe he will save your life." So they put sackcloth on their bodies, and ropes on their heads, and came to the king of Israel, and said, "Your servant Ben-Hadad says, 'Please let me live.'" He said, "Is he still alive? He is my brother." Now the men observed diligently, and hurried to take this phrase. And they said, "Your brother, Ben-Hadad." Then he said, "Go, bring him." Then Ben-Hadad came out to him, and he caused him to come up into the chariot. Ben-Hadad said to him, "The cities which my father took from your father I will restore. You shall make streets for yourself in Damascus, as my father made in Samaria." "I," said Ahab, "will let you go with this covenant." So he made a covenant with him, and let him go. A certain man of the sons of the prophets said to his fellow by the word of Yahweh, "Please strike me." The man refused to strike him. Then he said to him, "Because you have not obeyed the voice of Yahweh, behold, as soon as you are departed from me, a lion shall kill you." As soon as he was departed from him, a lion found him, and killed him. Then he found another man, and said, "Please strike me." The man struck him, smiting and wounding him. So the prophet departed, and waited for the king by the way, and disguised himself with his head bent over his eyes. As the king passed by, he cried to the king, and he said, "Your servant went out into the midst of the battle, and behold, a man turned aside, and brought a man to me, and said, 'Guard this man. If by any means he be missing, then your life shall be for his life, or else you shall pay a talent of silver.' As your servant was busy here and there, he was gone. The king of Israel said to him, 'So your judgment shall be. You yourself have decided it.' He hurried, and took the headband away from his eyes, and the king of Israel recognized that he was of the prophets. He said to him, 'Thus says Yahweh, because you have let go out of your hand the man whom I had devoted to destruction, therefore your life shall go for his life, and your people for his people.' The king of Israel went to his house, sullen and angry, and came to Samaria. Chapter 21. It happened after these things that Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard, which was in Jezreel, hard by the palace of Ahab king of Samaria. Ahab spoke to Naboth, saying, 'Give me your vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near to my house, and I will give you for it a better vineyard than it. Or, if it seems good to you, I will give you its worth in money.' Naboth said to Ahab, 'May Yahweh forbid me that I should give the inheritance of my fathers to you.' Ahab came into his house sullen and angry, because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him, for he had said, 'I will not give you the inheritance of my fathers.' He laid himself down on his bed, and turned away his face, and would eat no bread. But Jezebel his wife came to him, and said to him, 'Why is your spirit so sad that you eat no bread?' He said to her, 'Because I spoke to Naboth the Jezreelite, and said to him, Give me your vineyard for money, or else, if it pleases you, I will give you another vineyard for it." He answered, "I will not give you my vineyard." Jezebel his wife said to him, "Do you now govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise and eat bread, and let your heart be merry. I will give you the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite." So she wrote letters in Ahab's name, and sealed them with his seal, and sent the letters to the elders, and to the nobles who were in his city, who lived with Naboth. She wrote in the letters, saying, "Proclaim a fast, and set Naboth on high among the people. Set 2 men, base fellows, before him, and let them testify against him, saying, 'You cursed God and the king.' Then carry him out, and stone him to death." The men of this city, even the elders and the nobles who lived in this city, did as Jezebel had sent to them, according as it was written in the letters which she had sent to them. They proclaimed a fast, and set Naboth on high among the people. The 2 men, the base fellows, came in and sat before him. The base fellows testified against him, even against Naboth, in the presence of the people, saying, "Naboth cursed God and the king." Then they carried him out of the city, and stoned him to death with stones. Then they sent to Jezebel, saying, "Naboth has been stoned, and is dead." It happened, when Jezebel heard that Naboth was stoned and was dead, that Jezebel said to Ahab, "Arise, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, which he refused to give you for money, for Naboth is not alive, but dead." It happened, when Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, that Ahab rose up to go down to the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, to take possession of it. The word of Yahweh came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, "Arise, go down to meet Ahab king of Israel, who dwells in Samaria. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, where he has gone down to take possession of it. You shall speak to him, saying, 'Thus says Yahweh, have you killed and also taken possession?' You shall speak to him, saying, 'Thus says Yahweh, in the place where dogs lick the blood of Naboth, dogs will lick your blood, even yours.'" Ahab said to Elijah, "Have you found me, my enemy?" He answered, "I have found you, because you have sold yourself to do that which is evil in the sight of Yahweh. Behold, I will bring evil on you, and will utterly sweep you away, and will cut off from Ahab everyone who urinates against a wall, and him who is shut up, and him who is left at large in Israel. I will make your house like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha the son of Ahijah, for the provocation with which you have provoked me to anger, and have made Israel to sin." Yahweh also spoke of Jezebel, saying, "The dogs shall eat Jezebel by the rampart of Jezreel. The dogs will eat he who dies of Ahab in the city, and the birds of the sky will eat he who dies in the field." But there was none like Ahab, who sold himself to do that which was evil in the sight of Yahweh, whom Jezebel his wife stirred up. He did very abominably in following idols, according to all that the Amorites did, whom Yahweh cast out before the children of Israel. It happened, when Ahab heard those words, that he tore his clothes, and put sackcloth on his flesh, and fasted, and lay in sackcloth, and went softly. The word of Yahweh came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, "See how Ahab humbles himself before me? Because he humbles himself before me, I will not bring the evil in his days, but in his son's days will I bring the evil on his house." Chapter 22. They continued 3 years without war between Syria and Israel. It happened in the 3rd year that Jehoshaphat the king of Judah came down to the king of Israel. The king of Israel said to his servants, "You know that Ramoth Gilead is ours, and we are still, and don't take it out of the hand of the king of Syria?" He said to Jehoshaphat, "Will you go with me to battle to Ramoth Gilead?" Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, "I am as you are, my people as your people, my horses as your horses." Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, "Please inquire first for the word of Yahweh." Then the king of Israel gathered the prophets together, about 400 men, and said to them, "Shall I go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear?" They said, "Go up, for the Lord will deliver it into the hand of the king." But Jehoshaphat said, "Isn't there here a prophet of Yahweh, that we may inquire of him?" The king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, "There is yet one man by whom we may inquire of Yahweh, Micaiah, the son of Imlah. But I hate him, for he does not prophesy good concerning me, but evil." Jehoshaphat said, "Don't let the king say so." Then the king of Israel called an officer and said, "Quickly, get Micaiah, the son of Imlah." Now the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, were sitting each on his throne, arrayed in their robes, in an open place at the entrance of the gate of Samaria, and all the prophets were prophesying before them. Zedekiah, the son of Kenanah, made him horns of iron, and said, "Thus says Yahweh, with these you shall push the Syrians until they are consumed." All the prophets prophesied so, saying, "Go up to Ramoth Gilead, and prosper, for Yahweh will deliver it into the hand of the king." The messengers who went to call Micaiah spoke to him, saying, "See now, the prophets declare good to the king with one mouth. Please let your word be like the word of one of them, and speak good." Micaiah said, "As Yahweh lives, what Yahweh says to me, that I will speak." When he had come to the king said to him, "Micaiah, shall we go to Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall we forbear?" He answered him, "Go up and prosper, and Yahweh will deliver it into the hand of the king." The king said to him, "How many times do I have to adjure you that you speak to me nothing but the truth in the name of Yahweh?" He said, "I saw all Israel scattered on the mountains, as sheep that have no shepherd. Yahweh said, 'These have no master, let them each return to his house in peace.'" The king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, "Didn't I tell you that he would not prophesy good concerning me, but evil?" Micaiah said, "Therefore hear the word of Yahweh. I saw Yahweh sitting on his throne, and all the army of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. Yahweh said, 'Who shall entice Ahab, that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead?' One said one thing, another said another. A spirit came out and stood before Yahweh, and said, 'I will entice him.' Yahweh said to him, 'How?' He said, 'I will go out and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets.' He said, 'You will entice him, and will also prevail. Go out and do so.' Now therefore, behold, Yahweh has put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these your prophets, and Yahweh has spoken evil concerning you." Then Zedekiah, the son of Kenanah, came near, and struck Micaiah on the cheek, and said, "Which way did the Spirit of Yahweh go from me to speak to you?" Micaiah said, "Behold, you will see on that day, when you go into an inner room to hide yourself." The king of Israel said, "Take Micaiah, and carry him back to Amon, the governor of the city, and to Joash, the king's son. Say, 'Thus says the king, put this fellow in the prison, and feed him with bread of affliction, and with water of affliction, until I come in peace.'" Micaiah said, "If you return at all in peace, Yahweh has not spoken by me." He said, "Listen, all you people." So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat the king of Judah went up to Ramoth Gilead. The king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, "I will disguise myself and go into battle, but you put on your robes." The king of Israel disguised himself and went into battle. Now the king of Syria had commanded the 32 captains of his chariots, saying, "Fight neither with small nor great, except only with the king of Israel." It happened, when the captains of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat, that they said, "Surely that is the king of Israel," and they turned aside to fight against him. Jehoshaphat cried out. It happened, when these captains of the chariots saw that it was not the king of Israel, that they turned back from pursuing him. A certain man drew his bow at random, and struck the king of Israel between the joints of the armor. Therefore he said to the driver of his chariot, "Turn your hand and carry me out of the battle, for I am severely wounded." The battle increased that day. The king was propped up in his chariot facing the Syrians, and died at evening. The blood ran out of the wound into the bottom of the chariot. A cry went throughout the army about the going down of the sun, saying, "Every man to his city, and every man to his country." So the king died, and was brought to Samaria, and they buried the king in Samaria. They washed the chariot by the pool of Samaria, and the dogs licked up his blood where the prostitutes washed themselves, according to the word of Yahweh, which he spoke. Now the rest of the acts of Ahab, and all that he did, and the ivory house which he built, and all the cities that he built, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel? So Ahab slept with his fathers, and Ahaziah his son reigned in his place. Jehoshaphat, the son of Asa, began to reign over Judah in the 4th year of Ahab, king of Israel. Jehoshaphat was 35 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 25 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Azubah, the daughter of Shilhi. He walked in all the way of Asa his father. He didn't turn aside from it, doing that which was right in the eyes of Yahweh. However, the high places were not taken away. The people still sacrificed, and burnt incense on the high places. Jehoshaphat made peace with the king of Israel. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat, and his might that he showed, and how he warred, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah? The remnants of the Sodomites that remained in the days of his father Asa, he put away out of the land. There was no king in Edom. A deputy was king. Jehoshaphat made ships of Tarshish to go to Ophir for gold, but they didn't go, for the ships were broken at Ezion Geber. Then Ahaziah, the son of Ahab, said to Jehoshaphat, "Let my servants go with your servants in the ships." But Jehoshaphat would not. Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David his father. Jehoram, his son, reigned in his place. Ahaziah, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel in Samaria in the 17th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and he reigned 2 years over Israel. He did that which was evil in the sight of Yahweh, and walked in the way of his father, and in the way of his mother, and in the way of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, in which he made Israel to sin. He served Baal and worshipped him, and provoked to anger Yahweh, the God of Israel, according to all that his father had done. End of chapters 17 through 22. End of the first book of Kings.